on your radar today?
Thanks, Amisha. What is on my radar is that Senate Democrats on Thursday blocked passage of the Laken Riley Act, a piece of legislation named after the Augusta University nursing student who was slain by an illegal alien. The bill would require the detention of any illegal alien accused of theft-related crimes. The Laken Riley Act previously passed the House of Representatives, but at that time, 170 Democrats voted against it. Seems like a no-brainer that this bill should pass. It would be good for the country. Individuals who have already disrespected our laws by crossing our borders illegally have no business remaining in the country after committing other crimes. Yet Democrats, who have been twisting themselves into pretzels over the past couple of months trying to blame Republicans for the border crisis, rejected the measure. Why? What could possibly possess them to protect criminal illegal aliens at the expense of American citizens? Senator Raphael Warnock represents the state in which Laken Riley's young life was snuffed out far too early. But he dismissed the legislation, said that the legislation advanced in her name is smoke and mirrors being pushed by lawmakers who are, quote, not serious. What exactly is not serious about trying to prevent another Laken Riley? Riley's alleged killer, Venezuelan national Jose Ibarra, entered the United States illegally during the Biden administration. Ibarra was released within 24 hours of being nabbed by Border Patrol and told to check back in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement after 2 years. In the meantime, he was arrested multiple times for theft and DUI. Because he committed these crimes in sanctuary cities, he was released each time as the local police were prohibited from cooperating with ICE. It gets worse. According to records reviewed by the New York Post, Ibarra was also a confirmed member of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. His brother, who was just indicted for green card fraud, was also a member of this gang. You might recognize the name. They are believed to be behind the organized crime ring in New York City, where gang members on mopeds stole victims' cell phones, wiped their digital bank accounts clean, and then sold the phones for further profit. They've been taking advantage of our lax border policy to establish gang centers around the United States. Bloomberg reported in December that Venezuela's rate of violent crime fell to its lowest level in 2 decades because of the massive wave of migration out of the country. If Venezuela is getting safer as people leave, what does that mean for us? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on here. In addition to the Laken Riley Act, House Republicans are also pushing a bill to require illegal aliens convicted of sexual assault to be deported and permanently barred from the country. Again, seems obvious. The Democrats only pretend to care about the border crisis now because they know it's hurting them politically. Immigration has leapfrogged ahead of the economy to become the #1 concern of voters. But the truth is that Biden created this crisis. He reversed nearly 100 immigration-related actions taken by his, quote, predecessor, as he referred to him in his State of the Union address, including Remain in Mexico, Safe Third Country rules, restrictions on asylum claims, and building the border wall. Biden could easily fix it by reinstating Trump-era policies. When Trump cracked down on illegal immigration following a surge in May of 2019, apprehensions dropped by 50% in just a few months. At the very least, Biden could encourage his party to hold illegal aliens who commit crimes accountable and stop shielding them under sanctuary city laws. Instead, Democrats are running with the message that Republicans have to pass the Senate's immigration reform bill. Otherwise, they claim, the GOP is only using the issue to score political points. In reality, the Senate bill is merely a processing bill. It combines increased funding for Border Patrol agents and immigration judges with only minor changes to the asylum law and codifies the ability for 2 million plus illegal aliens to enter our country annually. That's not border security. Money doesn't mean anything unless it's coupled with significant policy changes. The bill also makes 0 changes to Biden's parole program, which allows up to 30,000 immigrants a month to fly into the country. One of these parolees, a man from Haiti, was just charged with raping a 15-year-old girl at a hotel for migrants in Massachusetts. Never mind the fact that the Senate bill also sends another $95 billion to Ukraine and Israel to help them protect their borders. Establishment Republicans threw conservatives in their party and the American people under the bus by even bothering to negotiate with people so fundamentally dishonest. Nothing was more emblematic of the mere lip service Biden and Democrats paid to the border crisis than Biden's behavior at the State of the Union. When asked to say Laken Riley's name, he botched it, calling her Lincoln Riley. In an off-script moment, he acknowledged she was killed by an illegal, but after members of his party chastised him for not sanitizing Jose Ibarra's immigration status, Biden said that he regretted the moment and should have referred to him as undocumented. Nothing could be more important, after all, than ensuring you don't incidentally dehumanize a literal murderer. Instead of policing language, let's police the criminal illegal aliens who have been allowed to roam free in our country for far too long and continue to prevent tragedies like the one that happened to Laken Riley. That's what's on my radar, Amisha. Any thoughts?
Well, I think there were several things there. That was a quite expansive radar. When it comes to the bill that was presented and why we saw such angst from the senator from the great state of Georgia, is that, one, it was too expansive. Two, it allotted to profiling. I agree with you that what happened to Laken Riley is not only demonstratively evil, it is also extremely sad that the individual who committed that crime evaded the law and was able to, after committing other crimes, go to and disrupt the lives of this young woman in her life and her family, because we know that when a situation like that happens, the people who are still reeling are going to be the family for years to come. So I definitely understand that. I think that in response to that issue, we cannot look at or pass laws that are going to be more detrimental. This one was problematic because it allotted to a certain level of profiling of all undocumented migrants. And that's a problem because we can recognize that the overwhelming majority of undocumented migrants that reach our southern border or in this country are individuals who are not criminals and who do not have crime histories. And saying that everyone does, or acting as though they all do, or that they're all going to commit rapes and murders and things like that, I think is a really sad place for our country to be. Also, it's just factually incorrect. This individual in particular should have never been able to leave the state of New York, period. Laken Riley should still be here. But with that being said, that does not give credence to Republicans who want to create inhumane laws and are absolutely fine ripping up our asylum system as it exists and basically profiling an entire group of people. I think that is fundamentally wrong and it is flawed. And it's something that we've seen that party do specifically, not only now, they've done it year after year after year. And that's not helpful for the situation we currently have at hand. Just to follow up on that, what do you find inhumane or you refer to it as profiling illegal aliens as criminals? What do you think? What part of the bill specifically does that? Because what this does is just requires police to cooperate with ICE if an illegal alien is accused of committing a theft-related, or in the other bill that we talked about or that I talked about in the radar, a sex-related crime. So, I mean, to me, if you already come into the country illegally, you're already breaking our nation's laws, and then you get further entrenched in the criminal justice system, that should be a sign that you're not allowed to stay here anymore. Well, the issue is that we've seen several people who were accused of crimes who did not commit crimes. The big issue around, what was it, the 3 individuals in New York? That story made its waves across the country. We heard many people who believed wholeheartedly what those police officers said. Then we peel back the onion and weeks later we find out that a lot of those statements by the police were quite frankly untrue. I think that what we have to look at is, yes, if you are accused of a crime, it is proven that you committed said crime. That is a very different story than, again, just wholeheartedly believing an accusation that in many cases has been lauded upon a group that didn't even commit the crime. So I have a problem with it because, again, it goes back to, and being a member of a diverse community, I've seen it happen to my community quite often, profiling. And at any given rate, when we're trying to issue criminal justice reform, when we're trying to make our laws more humane, we have to be very strategic about who we label as a criminal. And just because somebody is an undocumented migrant does not automatically make them a criminal. Well, it does, because they illegally cross the border. I mean, that is a crime. But I would also say just your concern is obviously about due process, right? Just because someone's accused of a crime doesn't mean that they're convicted. But what this bill does, from my understanding, is it just requires them to be detained while they go through legal proceedings, as opposed to being released out onto the street. Because in Jose Ibarra's case, he was able to flee New York after being accused of this theft and went down to Georgia, where he went on to kill Laken Riley. So I just don't think it's too much to ask to say, at least give ICE the opportunity to look up this person's immigration
detention status, let them stay in detention until they go through the legal process. And if they're found to be guilty, deport them, remove them from the country.
The other issue I had with the radar was around asylum, because if our asylum laws were followed to the T, even if they were followed to the T, and I think that there are certain parts of it that have not been categorically across multiple administrations. The overwhelming majority of individuals who are currently crossing our southern border are seeking refuge in this country for economic reasons would not qualify for asylum.
That's true.
Under the laws on the books today, they would not qualify for asylum. Those who do are still backlogged. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people. So there is something to be said about this, the Senate bill that was rejected actually being one that, you know, was extremely important towards, it's a Band-Aid. I think that anything we do at this point is going to be a Band-Aid without wholesale immigration reform. Something needs to happen. And because Republicans were the architects of that bill, including border security funding, including more individuals at the border, including ensuring that we would have a more eased process, it's going to take a very long time. And I would argue the most substantive bill that we've ever seen when it came to immigration reform actually came from a Republican president under George W. Bush. And Republicans denied that one as well. So it begins to be frustrating when the potato just keeps getting passed time and time again. And obviously we have an immigration issue at our southern border. And that's a crisis. And I think that the American public should pay attention to it. But we've been playing politics with it for far too long.
Yeah, I know we're out of time, but just real quickly, I'd say on your asylum point, I mean, it's true. The people who actually might qualify for asylum and deserve to have their cases heard have this massive backlog. I think my fundamental issue with the Senate bill is that it creates this new class of asylum officers who are not well versed in asylum law and who are fundamentally appointed by the political leader of DHS as opposed to an impartial immigration judge to review those cases. So ultimately, that's going to, whatever administration is in charge is going to make the decisions on who gets asylum or not, and they're going to use probably different processes as opposed to if you put these in front of an immigration judge. But we're going to take a break, be back with more Rising after this.